Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makudir. The time is 12 minutes past 8. This is Central African time, and we're going to be switching gears to, or now I think we can all consider it is arguably the biggest political shakeup in South Africa at the moment, a crisis that strikes at the very heart of our constitutional democracy. The police, South African Police Services. We all remember on Sunday night, President Cyril Ramaphosa in what many consider a rather underwhelming national address, announced a judicial commission of inquiry into corruption and political interference within South Africa's policing authorities. And at the same time, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu was placed on immediate leave of absence following explosive allegations by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who accused Mchunu of outright sabotage in politically sensitive murder investigations. The president didn't mince his words, warning that these allegations, if true, could shake public trust in the police and pose a serious threat to national security. Now, in an even more unusual move, President Ramaphosa appointed a legal academic and anti-corruption expert, Professor Firoz Cachalia, a man who's currently not in parliament, to step in as acting minister of police. The appointment has raised both eyebrows and hope. It's a rare, it's somewhat unorthodox, and it's happening in a department many say is teetering on collapse. Now we ask the question, what does this all mean for South Africa's fight against crime? What does it mean for integrity of our law enforcement agencies and for the political fault lines now widening within the state? And join us now to unpack all of this is the man at the center of it all, the new incoming acting police minister, Professor Firoz Cachalia. Prof, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media. Really appreciate you giving us your time this morning.
It's a pleasure to be on your program.
I think first and foremost, congratulations on your appointment. Although I think it's coming at a very unsavory time, looking at the South African Police Services. I want us to begin with, the elephant in the cabinet chamber, so to speak. There's a lot of concerns that have been raised by some political parties about you not being a member of parliament, but yet being appointed as acting police minister. It is an unusual move that has triggered some concern, and this is across the political spectrum. Can you maybe just explain and unpack and respond to this reality that many claim that it undermines the democratic process that it's been put out and it's always been the way that things are done?
Yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail in responding because I think it's not really my place. The president has made this appointment in accordance with the Constitution, which makes provision for the appointment of two ministers, that is, members of the cabinet who are not members of parliament, and it's not without precedent. So, I don't want to take that matter much further. It's completely understandable that opposition parties will raise concerns, and they have done so. Let's leave it there. I don't think that it's a matter that I should express an opinion on.
All right. I think we can now step into what a lot of South Africans would be very interested into hearing, the circumstances of your appointment. I think it comes in the middle of public controversy, within the South African Police Services. There's institutional suspicion and political turbulence. How did the conversation with President Ramaphosa come about? And most importantly, how did you feel about being roped into a portfolio many would consider in a state of institutional free fall, if I can put it that way?
Yeah, it was on Sunday. I was watching a lot of sport. So I was at home My phone was in another room being charged, and I did hear the phone ringing, but I didn't pay much attention. Um, but it's obvious later that the president's office was trying to get hold of me. Eventually, they called my brother, who also called, but
All right, we seem to have some connection problems there with Professor Feroz Cachalia. While we try to get him back on air, I think you can send through your questions. Is there anything that you'd like to ask him? This is going to be the man who's going to be at the helm of a very, very important portfolio. You can engage with us on social media. You can comment at Salam Media. We're broadcasting this interview live on our various social media platforms. You can give us a call. Our studio line is 0116800355. On WhatsApp is 0617660355. Is there a question that you would like to ask the incoming acting police minister? He's coming at a very, very difficult time in this portfolio. There's so much that's happening, in and around the department. There are allegations that have been made on some high-ranking individuals. And there's also political parties that are saying, well, this man is not member of parliament. How is he appointed as a minister? And I think, from what I understand, is the fact that he's going to be heading the police department once he's sworn in as a member of parliament. So that's going to be coming in a bit later. And again, he's going to be taking over the department as soon as that commission of inquiry has been established. So yeah, I think there's so much more to unpack from this. We still want to find out about the conversation with the president. How did it come about? Some people saying he was only called an hour before, by the president, an hour before that announcement was made. So I think he was unpacking a bit of that. But most importantly, how does he see himself maneuvering the South African Police Services and the ministry in itself? I think there are a lot of people that might be, loyal to Senzo Mchunu, some that are also, by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, who have been fingered in some of these dealings. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll still be talking to Police Minister Professor Cachalia, incoming acting Police Minister Professor Feroz Cachalia. But yeah, you don't want to miss it. You want to stick around. Please send through those questions and those comments, and we'll make sure that he responds to them. See you after this.
Stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Valley's Motor Spares. We supply motor spares and accessories for all makes and models of motor cars, LDVs, bakkies, trucks, and earth-moving equipment. We deliver on time, every time. Please contact us via WhatsApp on 014-592-0925 or call 014-592-0925 or visit 28 Zenderling Street, Rustenburg. Remember the name, Valley's Motor Spares.
Gaza needs your support more than ever. Homes have been shattered and families have lost everything. With your support, our teams are delivering clean water tankers, feeding the hungry, and assisting orphans who have no one left. Let us give Gaza whatever help we can. African Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal South Africa's Breakfast Club aims to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend their day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner for only 5 Rand a day or 150 Rand a month. Or visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media, coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makwidi. We're still having a conversation with the incoming acting police minister, Professor Cachalia. We're talking about his appointment and some of these plans for the troubled South African police services. We were having him on stream, but that didn't work out. So we switched platforms now. So he's joining us via telephone. Prof, thank you so much for joining us. Before we lost you there for a moment, you were just briefly taking us through your conversation with President Cyril Ramaphosa, when and how it came about. And I think it's very, very interesting to let South Africans into that conversation, a very, very important one, because it ultimately led to your appointment as the incoming acting police minister.
Right. So as I was saying, it's clear now to me that they were trying to get hold of me for much of the day. His office, they were calling me, but my phone wasn't with me. I was charging the phone in another room. I was watching sport. And then they eventually got hold of my brother, Justice Cachalia, got hold of him. He tried to call, and of course the phone was still ringing, so that didn't work. And then eventually, I think my brother called my wife, and then she was with me watching the tennis, and then of course the message came through. So then we called back, and then I got a call from the president himself, probably about an hour or so before, just to inform me that he's made this decision. I understand that there would have had to be, because I have some experience in this regard, that there would have been widespread, consultations and discussions and thinking about the decision that needed to be made. And then you're the last person to be informed, actually, that the president wants to appoint you. Happened to me previously when I was the MEC for Safety and Security. I remember, I was just all of us who were appointed to the provincial executive then were just called in. We were made to wait and told by Mbazuma Shiro that we'd been appointed. So that's how it happens. And of course, I said yes immediately. For me, it's a great honor to be asked to shoulder this responsibility. I didn't hesitate.
I think, one thing that's going through my mind as I'm listening to you speak is, you accepting, that call from the president to, serve. It's national duty. But just knowing how complex and how messy essentially the police ministry is at this very moment. Were there concerns from your end, knowing fully, some of the allegations that have been made on some of the high-ranking officials within SAPS, the police minister, Senzo Mkhunu, being one of the people who have allegations, put against them by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. Was it no hesitation? It's often even seen as a very dangerous department to be working in. The reports of assassinations and all kinds of allegations being made. Did that cross your mind? Just how dangerous and just how muddy this department has become?
No, not really. I mean, the circumstances of my appointment are very troubling for everyone. I'm fully aware of that. The allegations that have been made are very serious, exceptionally serious. They need to be tested. They need to be examined, and the facts need to be determined. So the president, I think, could not act without, where allegations are made because they're serious, serious decisions had to be made. But at the same time, a process had to be established to determine the facts. And that's what he's done. I am not thinking, you got to step up when duty calls and when an instruction, which is given to serve, you must be prepared to step up and to shoulder the responsibility. So I'm not thinking about. I haven't yet met the National Commissioner. I'm going to be doing that and so forth. I haven't yet been sworn in, but I'm looking forward to meeting with the senior management, making an assessment by engaging with them, getting them to indicate how they see the situation, and then I will make decisions about what I need to do to change the picture as much as I can.
Very, very important. You currently serve on the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. How do you see that experience informing your approach in this new role? You mentioned also that you served as the MEC of safety, and looking at the department that's so deeply entangled in these allegations. There's the reports of political interference and infiltrations of all kinds. How do you see your experience serving at the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council and being the MEC of safety assist you in this regard on how you approach your time serving in the South African Police Services as the minister?
Well, let me start with the Gauteng experience. So I had experience in as a member of the government. I served in the legislature as well as the speaker. So over 15 years, I accumulated some experience in the way government works and so forth, particularly in the area of safety. And I would say, that I learned a lot during that period. It was also a period where there was a high level of public anxiety about crime, particularly violent crime. And the department, with a limited mandate, had some success. So we put strategies in place to reduce violent crime. I don't want to go into all the details now, but we had significant success with the so-called trio crimes: hijacking, housebreaking, and robbery. That was a very interesting experience. I engaged a lot with communities, with community policing forums, learned to understand the way the police work. I had the privilege of working with the late Commissioner Naidu, and built up a lot of relationships and mutual respect in the police service. The experience in the council, I think, has been very instructive. The council has been in existence for 3 years. We were required in the president's instructions to us to look at all the anti-corruption institutions, which of course include the law enforcement agencies, the SIU, the MPA, the DPCI, and to get advice about how to strengthen these institutions, whether we need a new anti-corruption institution and so forth. The council is in the process of concluding its work. About a year ago, we produced a report containing some recommendations. Those are now being considered by the government. And we've done a lot of research and made some recommendations on law enforcement. So I have some strong views about how to tackle corruption in society in general, including corruption in high places and within the police service. Now, there is a relationship between the fight against corruption and the fight for accountable and efficient and effective policing. Because one of the reasons that the levels of service are perhaps not what they should be, as experienced by members of the public, has got to do, for instance, with manipulation of the tender system in the police service. Mm-hmm. So we've, the council appointment over a 3-year period has put me in a position, together with the members of the council, to understand say a bit about the current problems in the police service. I've had the privilege also with working with senior leaders of the SIU, Motibi in the SIU, with General Labia in the DPCI, and to gain some understanding of where we are at the moment and what needs to be done. But I'm going to keep an open mind as well. I'm very keen to meet with Commissioner Masemola as soon as possible, probably today or tomorrow. And I need to listen to them because these are professionals. They are in positions of high responsibility and leadership in the police service. So my job will also be to listen to them, to support them in their efforts to fight crime, and to deliver as much as possible safety and security for our people.
Mm. Mm-hmm. And I think you just touched on a very, very important point. There's a correlation between corruption in South Africa and the South African police services. The two overlap and are almost always in the same sentence. Are you not concerned that the very people you may have to rely on internally might be the same ones who might undermine the plans and the mandate that you might have going into the police ministry? And are there talks maybe to bring in your own team, maybe some people from outside the ministry to assist you during your tenure?
So, my experience in Gauteng taught me, and I think this is not just limited to the police service. Ministers who have political responsibility always have oversight responsibility over some institution governed by civil servants, by government employees, the Department of Education, Department of Housing, and so forth. Here we have a ministry that has responsibility for the oversight of a massive national organization, the South African Police Service. Now, there are sometimes deep problems in departments. There are people who are motivated by the wrong objectives. They may be serving their own interests, but my experience has always been that there are professionals in government service, people who are highly committed to delivering services and so forth. And the South African Police Service is no different. There are people of integrity, ability, and capability in the South African Police Service. I, for instance, had heard very good things about the current National Commissioner of Police. So I'm going to be meeting him and his team. I'm not going to be going in assuming that everybody's corrupt. That would not be appropriate. That would not be right. But where action needs to be taken, action will be taken without fear of favor. And I mean, I think that that's what's required.
And I think that's what most South Africans would expect and appreciate. Prof, naturally, one would expect a structured handover, especially, given the sensitive nature of the department and the storm that is currently in. Has there been any communication between yourself and Minister Mkhunu? Are you walking into this with a proper handover or cold turkey, so to speak?
No, I haven't met with the former minister. It's I suppose because he is subject of an investigation, or he's part of that inquiry. So it has complicated matters. I haven't yet met him. No.
The Judicial Commission that was announced by the president on Sunday is expected to probe infiltration, corruption, and political sabotage within SAPS and itself. At this point, do you know what role your office will play in supporting or responding to that commission's work?
So I think that that's going to be a very helpful process, actually. The president has said that the senior judges, I think 3 of them, there are very clear, detailed terms of reference, and they have to produce a report in 3 months. And then I think he said a second report in 6 months. Now, if you look at the terms of reference, they are wide-ranging. It's not only about investigating whether there is substance at all, and that's very important, whether there's any substance at all to the allegations that General Mkhwanazi has made. Very serious ones, but the facts have to be established. Now, that's important because there has to be accountability by people who are in positions of some sensitivity and of great responsibility in the National Prosecuting Authority, at senior levels of the police service. I mean, he's made allegations which have yet to be established against members of the judiciary and high-ranking politicians. And so forth. But more important, from my point of view, in a way, is that the terms of reference include an examination of some of the systemic problems in the police service. So, for instance, if the judges are going to be looking at what's happening in procurement, the whole tendering process, and they make recommendations that change the system, improve the system to reduce the risk of corruption, then the commission is going to be extremely valuable to the ministry and extremely impactful. So it's not just about going after bad apples. It's about looking at what corrective action at the level of the SAPS as an organization need to be taken. So I would have had to do that anyway as an incoming minister. Now I have the support and assistance of 3 judges who are able to collect evidence, establish the facts, establish the truth, and make recommendations. It will make, I think, my job a lot easier. So I see the Judicial Commission that has been established as a partner in the project to improve accountability and efficiency of the police service.
There are critics that argue that commissions of inquiry are used as political escape valves of some sort. They are slow-moving processes that ultimately delay much-needed urgent action. How would you respond to South Africans who are simply tired of commissions without consequences? I mean, there's a precedent that has been set. There's been so many commissions that have not yielded the results that South Africans might want to see at the moment.
So I've heard that observation. Of course, it's for the president to explain his decision, not me. But I would say the following. When allegations are made, which are serious, there has to be a process of establishing the facts. It would be entirely wrong to act only on the basis of the allegations that have been made. Surely that must be the starting point. Now, those people who are challenging the decision to appoint a judicial commission should be saying what alternative process they would have followed to establish the facts, because that must be the starting point. Now, I think appointing judges who are not politicians, who are independent, who to establish the facts and to make findings is a reliable, objective process. One alternative might have been to have an exclusively parliamentary process for determining the facts. And I understand that Parliament, relevant committees have decided to be precisely that. And of course, that must now continue. But I think that parliamentary inquiries, at least in the South African context, don't often are not structured in such a way to establish facts in a reliable fashion and to make findings. We can have that debate. They are going to they're going to have such an inquiry. I'm sure that that inquiry is going to be of some assistance to establishing the facts and so forth. But an inquiry to a political process is quite distinct, made up of many parties, a large body of parliamentarians, is quite different from a structured, focused inquiry by judges who have the experience of establishing facts every time they have to go into a courtroom. Okay? So I think that I personally am also looking forward to this process that the president has established. Now, to the question whether these are just they're not seriously intended because the recommendations of commissions of inquiry are frequently ignored. I know that there have been many commissions of inquiry, but let me speak about the Zondo Commission. Because one of the terms of reference of the council that I chaired was to advise the president on the implementation of the Zondo Commission recommendations. So I have some intimate knowledge of that process of implementing the recommendations and monitoring their implementation. And I would say that the facts show that there has been a serious attempt to implement the recommendations. And I want to divide them into two categories. Justice Zondo's main recommendations concern establishing new institutions or strengthening new institutions, recommendations for the enactment of new legislation. For instance, in the area of procurement fraud and improving procurement regulation. Justice Zondo made recommendations. Establishing new institutions, passing legislation takes time. And I can say, on the instructions of the President, that the council that we established, that I chair, has taken account of the recommendations that the Zondo Commission made. And those recommendations are now before the executive. So that's point number one. The substance of Justice Zondo's recommendations concern institutional reform, because he came to the conclusion quite rightly that the existing institutions were not all fit for purpose, and there need to be new legislation, new institutions set up, and so forth. And there has been, it's a slow, protracted process, but the government has taken those recommendations on board. They're in the process of being considered and implemented. Now,
let me just quickly jump in there, Prof. Do we know at this moment the percentage of the recommendations that have been implemented from the Zondo Commission?
What I can say is that there is a structure made up of senior civil servants who are specific. The structure has been set up specifically to monitor the implementation of the Zondo Commission recommendation. And I have seen the tracking document, which set out task for task. It's a long and thick document, which sets out task for task, which ones have been finally implemented or where they are in the process of implementation. Because when you are considering institutional change, changing the structure, changing the systems, then you have departmental processes. For instance, the Department of Justice has to take a view. The whole JCPS cluster has to take a view, where depending on the nature of the reforms that are proposed, other departments have to take a view. Because remember, they're the ones who have to implement. The Treasury has to look at whether there are budgetary allocations that can be made, that should be made, and so forth and so forth. So those processes take time, but they are being tracked. And when I saw the tracking document, I can say, and in fact, I was also invited to sit in on a few of those meetings. I think that there has been progress, and there is a serious process in place to consider the recommendations that the Zondo Commission recommended, and to take steps to implement them. Then the second kind of recommendations that the Zondo Commission made concerned evidence against individuals. He referred a number of individuals against whom he said there was evidence to the NPA. Now, there, for prosecution, there, I think the picture is mixed. So the president doesn't prosecute. The president relies on the NPA system and IDAC, which is another example of progress that has been made. The IDAC has been established under new legislation, which is now independent. It's in some ways the IDAC is the old Scorpion, right? And we will remember that it was quite effective. So with the NPA, so the president can't interfere with the prosecution. Neither can the Minister of Justice. So it's up to the NPA. Is the NPA fit for purpose? My own experience has been that there are competent people also in the NPA, but we also know that the NPA over a long period of time under state capture was hollowed out systematically, weakened systematically. So the process of rebuilding the NPA is underway. Now, I would say that the evidence, because I've looked at this matter, the evidence that Justice Zondo referred to the NPA, those cases are not necessarily right for prosecution. What he found was some evidence, not evidence that may be sufficient to prepare a case in court and to win. Because when the NPA takes a case to court, not only do they need some evidence, they need to be sure that they can prove a criminal case beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a high test. And there, the NPA then, in taking cases to court, we've seen they've lost some, they've won some. There have been some high-level prosecutions of people who are involved in state capture. Some of those cases, there's been success with some recent arrests of high-ranking individuals. And in other cases, the NPA has taken matters to court and lost. When they lose, the public are justifiably unhappy. And when they haven't taken a case to court, maybe because it is an ongoing investigation, and they may feel that they have insufficient evidence to win in court, the public are also unhappy. Now, let me say this. The challenge of policing is linked with the challenge to improve the functioning of the criminal justice system as a whole. We need to be able to investigate effectively. That's the policing function. We also need to prosecute effectively. That's the NPA function in a different department, right? And so I'm going to have to work very closely with Minister Kubai and other ministers in the criminal justice cluster, because we also know that there are problems in criminal intelligence. To get the results that the public rightfully expects. Not an easy task, but it's a task that has to be undertaken.
No, definitely. Prof, just two last questions before I let you go. As you prepare to lead this department, even though it's in an acting capacity, what would you say are some of your key priorities? Are we talking about cleaning house? Are we talking about rebuilding capacity, or maybe just reorienting political will? And finally, are you in it just to steady the ship, or are you here to lead a reform of some kind? Do you see yourself playing a longer term role when it comes to the overhaul of the department?
So, on your first question, I do have some strong, let me put it this way, orientations, ideas about what needs to be done and what the priorities should be. And those are based on actually not listening to the police, but listening to people, trying to understand what's really going on the ground, what's really going on in communities. I know, for instance, that in the community that I grew up in, Actonville, the main problem is drugs. I know that because I live in the society, right? But I'm not at this point ready to talk about what the priorities, because I feel what I need to do after I'm sworn in is to meet with the police, senior leadership, to listen to them, to engage with them, to work with them, and then we'll be in a position to communicate publicly on the priorities and how we're going to go about focusing on them. I feel it would not be correct for me to talk about those matters in detail now, at the point where the president has made an announcement, but I have not taken office and I've not had an opportunity to meet with senior police yet. Sorry, what is your second question? Hello? Hello?
Yes, Prof.
Sorry, you lose me.
Yes, I think we just lost each other there for a moment. My last question, Prof, was would you say you are, just in to steady the ship at this
Oh, I
current
see.
moment,
Yeah,
to lead reform, or playing a longer term role in the
yeah,
overhaul of the department?
yeah. An important question, a great question. So I've had to think about that question because the president has described the appointment as acting. Now I will say this, the president appoints and the president removes. That is a presidential power set up in the Constitution. It applies to all the ministers. He appoints, and he can say, I'm appointing you for 1 day, I'm appointing you for 6 months. It's up to the president. That's a presidential power. Now, the way I think I have to approach this task is while I'm there to tackle the issues of policing the country as a minister, a member of his cabinet. When that appointment comes to an end, is not within my control. It's not my decision, it's his decision. So I will serve as long as I'm able to the fullest extent of my energies and capabilities.
I think we're going to leave on that note. Professor Firoz Cachalia, incoming acting police minister, thank you so much for joining us. Wishing you all the best and really appreciate you accepting national duty. I think the Department of Police is one that is in disarray at the moment. There's going to be a lot of spotlight on you and the work that you'll be doing from now henceforth. So yeah, all the best. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, there you go. That was incoming acting, newly appointed acting police minister, Firoz Cachalia, stepping into, I think, one of the most fraught and at the moment fragile portfolios in government. It is at a time of deep institutional distrust and public unease. Whether this is a brave intervention from him or a desperate patch job from the president, I think only time is going to tell us, and we'll be able to see if there'll be any kind of tangible reform within the police ministry. But yeah, I think what is clear is we're no longer dealing with isolated dysfunction in various ministries in the government of South Africa, especially with the microscope being in the Ministry of Police. But we're dealing with an overhaul crisis of credibility, crisis of proper leadership and of trust. And I think South Africans, including myself, all of us, are watching, are waiting, and are demanding more than just recited promises from the leader of this country, President Cyril Ramaphosa. So we'll continue tracking developments around this judicial commission that has been put into place by the president, the political fallout that's taking place within the police ministry, and accountability, if there'll be any, that will be presented to South Africans, to those that have been accused of some of these gross maladministrations and misdemeanors. And yeah, it'll be an interesting couple of months, and it'll be interesting how Professor Firoz Cachalia takes on this department. And what do you think? As a listener, South Africa, police being one of the most very, very important ministries, especially in a country that is riddled by crime and corruption like ours. Do you believe Professor Firoz Cachalia can clean up the rot within SAPS, or this is just another political reshuffle with no real change? You can WhatsApp us on 061 766 0355 or drop us your thoughts on the comment section of whatever platform you're listening and watching to us from. Another one that you can comment on is the fact that the president has placed Senzo Mchunu on leave and launched a commission into police corruption. Is it too little, too late, or finally a step in the right direction? Or are you amongst some of those South Africans that feel we don't need commissions of inquiries anymore? We've had the Zondo Commission, we've had the Life Esidimeni Commission, we've had the Siriti Commission, we've had all kinds of commissions, and none of them have yielded any kind of results. One commentator was saying we probably need a commission on all of the commissions that have not brought us the answers, and then it'll be a commission on that commission and a commission on that commission, and I don't know, maybe in the last commission of all of these commissions, South Africa can finally get all the secrets of the universe, and we can unravel into the truths that make up what South Africa is. But commissions, do you think they're still the way to go about things, or you much rather prefer a president like Donald Trump, as crazy and uninformed as he is? He's a man of action, some might argue. He signs executive orders. He gets things done at the moment that they need to be done in. President Ramaphosa, I think for the longest time, and maybe this address on Sunday almost kind of encapsulates his presidency. A lot of talk, a lot of indecisiveness, taking time to act on issues that are burning South Africans at the current moment. I think on Sunday, South Africans were expecting bombshells to be dropped, expecting people to be fired, people to be arrested, but that didn't happen, and it's something that we've seen also often in this Tuma Mina Cyril Ramaphosa administration. Engage with us, send us your comments, send us your views, your voice notes. Let's engage. South African Police Services, the biggest story in South Africa at the moment. It's under the spotlight, and we just engaged with the incoming acting police minister, Feroz Cachalia, who'll be taking on the department very, very soon. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, News and Views continues after this.